Hello, this is Kati Thompson, and welcome to the Individual Collaborative Change Patterns presentation entitled Words Matter. Here, you can view the Words Matter YouTube presentation, and here is a table of contents that you can reference as needed. But let's get started with the introduction. Dr. Kati wrote a chapter in the book Practicing Organization Development, and in that chapter, he makes this foundational statement. What we mean by the term whole system transformation is more than simply a change that affects the entire system. It means that the entire system is involved in creating itself anew. I realized throughout this project that any change begins with an invitation, and that invitation can either be received as such, or based on the words used, it can be received as an imposition. Our goal in OD is to ensure that individuals are invited into change, not imposed upon. And so the key question is, how can organizations offer an invitation rather than an imposition? And the answer is quite simple. It's through its choice of words. Words carry incredible power. They have the power to bring life, to include, to bring creativity, connection, victory, understanding, and community. But they also can bring death, and they can exclude. They can bring stagnation, division, defeat, confusion, and competition. Words have power. The reading, resources, and tools used in this project led me to make 3 observations about the words of collaborative change. These are that whole-scale collaborative change methods use a common set of words. Number 2, that the word choice is critical in producing positive outcomes. And number 3, that the words are reflective in the OD belief in human potential. So let's dive into what my process was for uncovering this information. First, I had to choose 10 methods to study. And so 9 of those 10 were given to me, and the 10th that I chose was integrated autonomy. These methods came from the Collaborative Change Library, and then 1 from the book, The Power of Liberating Structures. So those were the 10 methods that I chose and based all of this information on. In terms of my process, well, I pretty much started with a blank slate. I very much mirrored that image on the left. I didn't have many experiences with the type of methods that were being used in this project, and so I didn't have any expectations to go off of. So essentially, I knew my starting point. I was instructed to do an affinity diagram and then step into mind mapping, and so basically I just jumped in and got to work. So my affinity diagram, you can basically describe that as moving from chaos to clarity. I felt and probably looked like that picture. I basically started by writing down on sticky notes anything that stood out to me as I read about those 10 methods for whole-scale change. It was essentially a mass information export. And then I sorted those notes into the 8 design elements of whole-scale change methods. Those methods are listed here on the left, and they include invitation, purpose, system, experience, technology, evidence, values, and mastery. And the photo of my affinity diagram is located in Appendix A if you'd like to see it. So after that mass export of information and sorting into those design elements, I moved on to create my mind map. And I did this 1 design element at a time. And instead of transferring all of my information from my affinity diagram, I really tried to look for keywords. And I consolidated that information into a concise and meaningful mind map. I chose not to recreate my mind map electronically because I really preferred the artistic kind of free-form method that some of the YouTube videos showcased. So the words that stood out to me most and formed the basis for my mind map were words like develop, stimulate, focus, engage, connect, trust, responsibility, and practice. Those words stood out to me over and over again through the affinity diagram, so those really formed the basis for much of my mind map. As stated from the start, the words mattered. And those words informed my instructive visuals. So my instructive visuals focus on 2 of the 8 design elements, the invitation and purpose. The quote that we often hear that a picture is worth 1,000 words is pretty accurate in terms of my instructive visuals. In many organizations, change isn't really offered as an invitation. Instead, it's imposed. Individuals often hear, "You need to change, you need to fix this," and they can feel very much like that person in this image. But whole-scale change methods work to create an invitation rather than an imposition. And this is where words matter. The words are encouraging and they're connecting. And my mind map showed me that these invitations usually include the words like developing or focusing on something like these 2 individuals that you see in the picture. The invitations should be inviting people to develop vision and focus on conversation, to develop solutions and connection, to focus on the positive and citizenship. And then once the invitation is made, the whole-scale change method needs to have a clear purpose. Unfortunately, purpose in many organizations is often siloed and lonely and very outcome-driven. And as you can see here, individuals are each feeling lost as they're working towards their own purpose. But whole-scale change methods are used to create a shared purpose. And my mind map revealed foundational words like stimulate and improve. So this brings people together in shared purpose. They're stimulating creativity and engagement. They're improving systems thinking and communication, cooperation, and knowledge sharing, ultimately building a shared purpose. So how do we apply this information about invitation and purpose? Well, right now, I have a deep awareness that OD's belief in human potential calls for ways to involve as many voices as possible in the change process. Additionally, I now have affinity diagramming and mind mapping as tools in my toolbox. I'm going to use those to allow for creative thinking. I'm going to use those to capture my own ideas and the ideas of many people that I work with. My next intended use is as I start my job in 2 weeks with Bowling Green Economic Development to bring all of the stakeholders together and do a massive mind map to capture all of our ideas to create a shared vision. I intend to use mind mapping in order to create connections. I loved this quote from an article entitled Mind Mapping for Innovation that says, "Mind maps allow you to view a great many elements all at once, thus increasing the probability of creative association and integration, and consequently innovation." And don't we all want to be more innovative? The mind map allowed me to see the words that were used over and over again, and now I can begin to use those words myself as I try to bring change about in the organizations that I deal with. And then I'll use instructive visuals as an easy reminder of how to create an invitation and a purpose in whole-scale change. I also intend to create visuals in the future that I can use as reminders for myself and my team. In conclusion, I want to recap the 4 parts of this patterns presentation and my process. So first, let's start with my intentions. Really, typical projects for me look like reading the material, writing a paper, and moving on. And it was very evident as I got into this project that that was not going to work. So I had to very quickly move on to my reality, number 2, which was creating the affinity diagram and the mind map. And the beauty of my reality now is that I have this mind map in my head that is ever growing and evolving. And I can't wait to be able to see those branches grow as I continue throughout this course and this program. Then I moved on to learning, and here's what I've learned. OD uses meaningful words and meaningful methods, and they work together to create meaningful change. And lastly, the application. There are numerous ways that I'll apply this info, but in short, I will use mind maps for innovation, and I will use whole-scale collaborative change methods that are simple and effective, and I will begin to use those on a daily basis in my work and personal life. Thank you for your time, and I hope you also realize that you can use meaningful words and meaningful methods to create meaningful change. Now feel free to review my references and appendix as needed.